Okay, everybody, I think we might be ready to start. So welcome. Thank you for coming up after lunch to the session Can Accountants Change the World? My name is John Hitchin. I am Deputy Chief Executive of a relatively small social enterprise called Renacy. We both deliver services, but I run our research and consultancy team, and I suppose I've been asked to chair this session because we do a lot of work with small to medium-sized charities and social enterprises to start to ask some of the questions of impact and what are you doing and how do you know that you're doing it and how can you make decisions about that. What that then starts to lead to is I think what the conversation in this session is going to be about, which is how can you then go to the next level and start to account for some of that, make business decisions around some of that and build it into everything that you're about. We have a rather impressive panel in terms of ability to talk about this. Unlike myself. So we have Tim Hayward, first of all, who will be speaking first, who is the Group Finance Director and Head of Sustainability at Interserve. For those of you who were here at the plenary at the very start of the day, you've got a rather good trail, Tim. And I'm particularly interested to hear about the work that Interserve have been doing and how the two job titles that Tim has fit together well. After Tim speaks, we'll then have Anna Laycock, who is Lead Strategist at the Finance Innovation Lab. I think bringing a very different perspective in terms of quite a small organisation looking to think bigger about some of the systemic issues rather than just organisational issues. And so I think that'll be a different perspective on this challenge. And then thirdly, we have Ben Wilgus, who's an Associate Director of Sustainability Services at KPMG, and who has been working for quite some time with organisations to think through how they account for some of their environmental and sustainability outcomes, impacts, and effects. So without further ado, I'm going to go through to the panel, ask them to speak for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time to have a conversation after that. So, Tim, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, John, and good afternoon, everybody. As John said, I'm the Finance Director and the Head of Sustainability of Interserve, and that gives me an introduction to ask that question, or to answer that question that John's just come up with, which is, well, what about the dichotomy of those two job titles? Surely the Finance Director or the accountant is the guy who knows the cost of everything and the value of nothing, and the Head of Sustainability is the guy who's got a homespun suit, wears sandals, got a beard, and goes and hugs trees at the weekends, and doesn't really know a business case if it came and presented itself to him. Well, clearly not the case. I see no contradiction between being both Finance Director and Head of Sustainability, and I'll try to describe to you in the next few minutes how we at Interserve have embraced, mainstreamed and made real the non-financial aspects of our financial performance and the sustainability underpin of our business strategy. We have got a long-standing sustainability plan with multiple facets to it going out over many years, and it is underpinned, driven by the premise that everything has to be financially sustainable. And this is not a frolic, this is not something that is in lieu of good business performance, but that our sustainability plan is how we get to good business performance. We've been on a journey for about 4 years now in conveying our message, in launching our plan, in pulling together all of the machinery required to operationalise a far-reaching sustainability plan that makes Interserve, I believe, truly an organisation that values more than just money. And through the bit of this talk where I'm just talking about our sustainability plan and our strategy, just sort of file in your own mind for future reference all the things I'm saying that you would normally expect an accountant to say. So value more than just money would be probably one of the first ones that you would not be expecting anybody to say. So consultation, holding a mirror up to the organisation was part of our journey in getting our sustainability plan alive, and I found myself having to make the business case for sustainability to an organisation of 85,000 people worldwide, delivering various services, building various buildings, and getting on with their day job and wondering what the hell I was talking about. Am I really making their life more difficult, adding more requirements? Is this CSR with a new shiny badge? Is it a passing fad? What am I doing? Was probably the start of the discussion for the first year or so. We are now at a stage where I think we are generally leading in our industry, generally having something to say on issues of great importance, such as the Social Value Act and many others, and understand, I think, internally why this is business critical for Interserve. There is our love plan in all of its glory. Don't read it now, but if you want to go to the website, you can have a look at it, and you'll see it's very multifaceted, it's multi-year, it's multi-dimensional, it's couched in lots of ambitious terms, and it's also underpinned by a lot of the disciplines that you would expect me, as a finance director, to bring to any element of strategy, which is measurability, traceability, consistency, good robust data, a business case, integration with other parts of the business. So I haven't sort of left my accountant's qualification at the door and picked up a green badge. The two are interlinked. And I would say that one of the first things about how accountants can change the world is by bringing that suite of disciplines that can often be turned against these sort of things and deploying them to support them and to help make the business case, to realise that you need to have a broader perspective than just in here, and a more nuanced perspective than just pounds, shillings and pence on today's bottom line. And that when you look at a route map of that complexity, you realise that you need tools of complexity, you need an agile mindset with disciplines in order to be able to actually assess what good looks like. And why do we need to do that? Well, in our industry, and in every industry, we're facing a crisis of trust. Who believes in big business anymore? Every day there's negative stories about why we shouldn't trust big business, how we're greedy or rapacious, ill-disciplined, ill-intentioned, profiteering, incompetence or whatever. And that is the cross that we have to bear, because as big business we are there to be shot at, and every one of our failures is writ large, and every one of our successes is sort of glossed over, would be one way of looking at it. But nevertheless, the licence to operate of any organisation is dependent on its ability to act in the communities that it serves. And if your community isn't trusting you, then what sort of business have you got? So as a response existentially to the why are we in business, well, how can we maintain our business without having the trust of our communities? How do we get the trust of our communities? Well, we need to show them what good looks like. We show them who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, the good that our people do, the impact that our organisation can make, and what's that if not the broader sustainability agenda in our plan. And then we've got another existential threat in our particular business, say in construction, a complete shortage of people. We need 272,000 jobs required in the UK construction industry, and there's 120,000 people trained. So there is a war for talent. Every business faces a war for talent. KPMG will do. You will do when you grow beyond three people. And that's not meant to be harsh. What you've got to have, whatever size business, you've got to have a USP that attracts people to want to work with you, and those who work with you to stay with you. And nowadays, millennials want more of a business than just, how much dividend are you giving to your shareholders? What's my pay packet? They want to work for an organisation that stands for something, that delivers something, that has a positive impact, and they're right to do so. And therefore, we need, as a business, and every business needs to, as a business, offer more. So it needs to have a skills agenda, a training agenda, it needs to have community cohesion, it needs to be doing its bit to save the planet, etc., etc., etc. Now, this is enlightened self-interest, but it's also our sustainability plan. It's also our business strategy. It's also self-evident common sense. So, how accountants can change the world, how I'm helping to change Interserve, it's thinking beyond the financial. It's thinking about how we can satisfy today's new and evolving requirements. I think the compact, the contract between business and society has changed massively. People now have the right to up and off if they don't like what's going on. You don't go into an employer and stay there for life. The world is looking at fair tax, reasonable behaviours. You can quickly lose your audience through digital media, and your today's mistake is tomorrow's disaster. So you have to think, as an accountant in a business, about, okay, what are the multiple elements of good that we need to be doing in order to respond to those agendas, and local employment is one for the social value of the services we deliver to our local authorities, for instance. Generating a healthy and robust supply chain, including social enterprises and SMEs. Offering opportunities for employees, engaging with local communities in all sorts of things, be it school, work placements, be it local charities, be it local employment, whatever. And offering best practices in sustainability is now quite often a requirement in public procurement. So all of these things say that sustainable business with a capital S and a capital B is the only sort of sustainable business with a small s and a small b. If you're not doing this stuff, you may well not be here soon. And society, as I've said before, expects every business now to be doing things for employment, skills, learning, equality, diversity, natural environment protection, and having a social conscience. So what we need to do as accountants, what I need to do as a finance director, is recognise this new blend of opportunities and risks. Adrian, in the plenary session this morning, talked about both the positives and the negatives. The risk of doing it wrong and being the next Volkswagen or G4S, and the opportunities of doing it right, having a brand that people come to. And we've talked in an earlier session about how we managed to win the lion's share of the probation service outsourcing by virtue of our offering, as partnering with social enterprises and charities, and our broader social value agenda that made government, in this case as the client, look at us and go, that's an organisation we can trust with this really important public service that needs somebody we can trust, and an innovative delivery as well that can help control the costs. So we have done a whole lot of stuff to operationalise those sorts of thinkings. We've put in place plans with targets, with measures. We've got databases. We've got a whole wealth of information that we've never had before. We've got targets in people's incentive programs that never appeared before. We've put this right at the heart of our strategy. The culture, and don't really bother reading these, but the culture and the values of our organisation is absolutely the central focus of everything in our business strategy. The sustainability objectives that are coming out of the plan here are the next level of it, and the measurement of those outcomes in terms of 4 capitals that you might recognise from the integrated reporting framework. Not all of the capitals, we picked our own 4, but financial is 1, natural capital, social capital, and knowledge capital. Those are how we measure what good looks like. And then we're into the sort of the nuts and bolts of a business strategy. And we measure those, all those sorts of KPIs are now intrinsic in our description of what our business strategy is and what success looks like. That's how accountants and how myself as a finance director can move the agenda on from what's today's earnings per share to how do we know we're going to have any earnings per share tomorrow. So finally, because I'm probably running out of time, me as FD has taken the lead in engaging the shareholders in this agenda. They own our business, they can sort of like it or move off, and if they move off in too many numbers then we don't have a business again. So getting the shareholders to see that a truly sustainable business only comes from a sustainable business is actually a surprisingly challenging conversation for fund managers who measure quarterly and who hedge funds who trade daily, and the right thinking ones will anticipate this and will appreciate this. It needs to be made, we need to tell them, and I don't excuse corporate Britain from their part of the storytelling, because it takes two to tango, and if the investors haven't got the message, that's partly because the companies haven't told them well enough and often enough, and here I am, storyteller, I've got to get that message across. So that's the investment agenda. So finally, I was asked to say, well, what works and what doesn't work. Integrating it into strategy. You cannot have a sustainability strategy and a business strategy. They've got to be one and the same thing. You've got to be flexible, you've got to be long term, you've got to look at multiple dimensions of measurement, you can't be too rigorous. Sometimes, as an accountant, you've actually got to say, not everything that is valuable can actually be valued. Does it feel like the right thing? Okay, let's do it. And again, that's one of those things you probably wouldn't expect FD saying, but if you try and measure everything, you will fail, you'll kill some good stuff. But you do need then reliable performance data, so not everything is done by gut feel and wet finger in the air. You've got to have some basis of rigour. And yeah, don't forget the qualitative stuff to back up the quantitative stuff as well. This is a hearts and minds agenda as well as a hard metrics agenda. What have we learned? God, it's hard work. Diving, delving, digging in the data mines of an organisation for things that are not normal in an ERP system, that is deeply painful and takes a lot of persistence. You do need top-down leadership. It won't happen. It won't be enabled organically, but you need bottom-up followership as well. And you need to identify both the positive side of this agenda as well as the negative side. Too often this sustainability agenda is couched in terms of we're all doomed. Actually, this is a positive business opportunity. I'll stop there. Go on.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much. I think that's a really useful starting point for us thinking about how an individual business can think about the accountant side of this, our question, which is the skills that accountants bring, the change side of the question, what sort of changes is it we're looking for, what sort of practices do we want to see changed, and then also for me it's the world side of that question. So what future behaviours do we want to see, how people are going to be making decisions in the world, and what do we want our businesses to be like, which I think is where we were touching on trust, which I think is really important for this. So I'm going to whiz through a few of these, but whilst I do, I wonder if you would like to... There we go. There you are. Over to you, Anna Laycock.
Thank you. So hi, my name is Anna Laycock. I lead the Finance Innovation Lab. There are only 3 of us. However, we have a community of about 3,000 people now who are all united around our mission. And that mission is to build a financial system that serves people and the planet, which is not what we believe we have now. In answer to the question, I'll give you a preview of the conclusions I'll come to. Can accountants change the world? Yes and no. Yes, in the accountancy is really the driver within the business, how we define and understand and make judgments on value. No, in that accountants are part of a much bigger system, and that system at the moment is geared towards a bigger purpose. So even the best examples of accountancy will not have a system-wide impact unless we help them to. And just kind of unpack what I mean by a system there. I'm talking about the financial system, and I find it helpful to break it into three, because I really like threefold divisions, I've discovered recently. So the first is the landscape. So the landscape is basically the terrain on which a game of finance is played. So it could be things like physical environment and demographics, but the stuff that really interests us is the narratives and the norms that we tell ourselves about finance. The regime is where the power sits in the system, and there you're looking at the institutions and the regulations that drive financial behaviour. And then we have the niches of innovation that are actually pushing through and affecting those. And I'm going to talk through each of those. So with the landscape, I just want to start. I've got two questions. The first question is, who is an accountant in this room? Okay, this question is not for you. So the second question is, how many, put your hand up if you would feel confident and excited going into a detailed conversation with an accountant. There's some. And I say that I'm not disparage accountants at all, because I actually have recently got very into the detail of our accounts and found it fascinating. But there is something around the language of finance, the stories that we tell ourselves, that puts accountants and other experts over there and us over here. And a lot of it's to do with the language that's used, things like derivatives, capital, liquidity, liabilities, bonds, debentures, all of that is really alienating, and we go, oh, let's leave that to someone who knows what they're doing. And what that basically does is really keeps us outside of finance, and it's not something that belongs to us, and then it becomes excluded from the rest of the world, and that actually kind of robs us of our power to change things, whereas actually we can change things. And again, I'll come back to that. The second aspect of the landscape that I just wanted to pick up on is kind of the social norms we have around what value is. So value is social, basically. So social value is in a way a tautology, because basically value is about what is it that we need and what is it that we want, and that's basically social. Finance is a language to describe that effectively. But what we've ended up with is, and I exclude very much Interserve from this, we've ended up with a dominant belief that actually the only language in which you can just describe value is in pounds and pence. And that is very much embedded in the mainstream accountancy model. So for me, what the social value agenda is about is not necessarily adding different value, but actually taking a more accurate view of what value is. But that's quite difficult to do across the piece, and that's when I kind of come onto the regime, the established practices, and for me accounting is the established standard for measuring value, basically. If you want to understand the business, you look at the accounts. And in my research for this, I asked a question which I never actually asked before, which is what is the purpose of accounting? And I asked this of Google because it always answers my questions. And the most enlightening answer that I got was that accountancy's purpose is to provide the information to make economic decisions. And I thought I can see that makes sense to me. But in the model that I use and a lot of people use who are trying to change the financial system, the economy is a subset of society and the environment. So actually, how can you make good decisions if you've not got information on those aspects of the business? So how is a balance sheet balanced if the only thing it shows is money? Because actually what you might have underneath that is, loads of money that you made, but actually on your liability side, the things you owe, there might be a lot of damage that you cause environmentally that isn't represented there. Or how can quarterly reporting be accurate? Because it's not like a business does stuff and then it causes an impact for a quarter and then we write and sign off the accounts and then the impact stops. It doesn't really happen like that. And I think that is also driven by shareholder capitalism, which I think at the moment really restricts the ability of accountants to change the world, in that it is this kind of short-term, narrow view, the results, the financial results that's used to determine the share price, that's used to determine whether the business is doing well or not. Whereas it's perfectly possible, and I think your talk covered it really well, is that you can actually take a stakeholder view of capitalism and look at your impact on lots of different groups within society, and that's long-term, that's broad. How we get there, that's where the niches of innovation come through, things that are kind of pushing up. I'm not aware, and I'm interested to know, of a wide range of innovations in the actual process of accounting. So there's a lot of natty stuff to do your accounts with. So we use something called Xero, which is an online cloud-based service. You've probably seen the ads everywhere. I love it, it's beautiful, but it's not actually changing the way that accounting works, it's just changing the way that we administrate it. What I would say also is not all innovation is good. So there's a lot of innovation that's just reinforcing the status quo. And the most innovative accounting that I can think of is the very creative accounting that happened in the banks. And that didn't really have a great deal of positive impact. One thing I would mention in the kind of innovation area is the whole natural capital agenda. So how do we value and monetize ecosystem services effectively? I think in the short term, that's a really good way to communicate value, because you're talking in a language that people will already understand, because we hold value as financial. But the danger is that long term you're actually just reinforcing that kind of narrative that the only thing that matters is pounds and pence, which won't necessarily shift behaviour. So I guess I would say, and again I saw it picked up in the Interserve presentation, we need to use different types of data. It's not about boiling it all down to being able to state everything in the same figures, because actually that's like saying that the only things that matter about us are the things that are the same, and actually what matters about life, society, environment, a lot of it is very different. In terms of kind of concrete ways I can describe that, I used to work for a college building society, and there in our annual reporting we would report on all the normal figures society would report on, but we would also report on the average EPC, which is the energy performance certificate of the properties that we were funding, because the college's mission was to support the advancement of sustainable homes. And so if we were really growing the balance sheet massively, but all of these properties were coming in relatively normal in terms of the EPC, then actually we weren't doing our job. And we have actually, well, it has, as I'm a member still, has recently slowed the inflow of mortgages and pushed up the standards in terms of energy efficiency to try and increase its impact in that area. Am I on time still?
Probably 2 more minutes.
Excellent, that's good. Innovations, I think, point the way to what we could do from the financial sector. There's 3 that I mentioned. You may be familiar with them. The first, I would mention a company called Abundance, which does crowdfunding for renewables. The reason I mention them is that crowdfunding connects you more closely with the asset you're investing in, which doesn't automatically, but it can lead you to think more about the wider forms of value you're creating. And what Abundance do is they take an explicit position on that and say we want to use money to make a more sustainable future. And I think that is a way of actually bringing in the other forms of value. And when they report not just on the interest you've accrued, but also on how much energy has been generated through the solar panels or whatever. The second is just in general, and it's not new, but I still think it's innovative compared to the system, is community shares. And what I like about the community shares model is that it implicitly recognises the social value of things like a community shop or owning your own football club, both in terms of issuing it to the community, but also the people who go there, they'll be investing with mixed motives, basically. And that's right, because we do have mixed motives, generally. Unfortunately, the regulation doesn't really recognise that at the moment and is only concerned with financial interests, which is one of the barriers. And the third thing I'd mention is a business called Fair For You, which is a new form of consumer credit. And basically, it's an alternative to the high street and online shops that sell you white goods on a hire purchase or a credit plan, and then they make a lot of money out of the credit. Now, Fair For You does sell white goods on credit, but its measure of success is not basically the profit it reaps in from people not being able to pay their loan. So its model is to lend people who can't afford the loan. And the measure of success is the support it can give to people. So when they come to it, they may get a fridge on credit, but they may actually be sent to a debt charity for help. And so there you can see where a different measure of success really changes the behaviour of an organisation. There isn't enough of this stuff around. And so I did want to mention, give a little plug to the fact that we just launched an incubation programme for financial startups that put social and environmental value at the centre. And they could be anything, they could be accountancy, that would be great. So if you are interested in that, then please come and talk to me, or equally just please spread the word. It's on our website, so if you just put Finance Innovation Lab into Google, you'll find it on the homepage.
Thank you very much, Anna. I think that's a really nice follow-on to Tim's talk, which was, first of all, we started with interest in what can accountants bring and how they can move their businesses, but also some of the systems and the questions about what it is we might want to be changing and what behaviours we might want to see in a more systemic way. What I'm hoping, Tim, is that we move now to some of the things from your experience of working with a new number of businesses and how they are experiencing change in a more varied way, perhaps, and how they're thinking through these problems more broadly. That's set your fail, but over to you.
I've just sat here thinking, actually, it's always interesting going last on a panel, because I can talk about all the things that I really agree with that you two mentioned, or I can focus on the things that perhaps don't necessarily agree with, that make for an interesting debate in the Q&A. So I'll pick up those, and then you can throw things at me if you want. So a little bit about me. I titled my presentation, How I Pretend to Be an Accountant. So I am one of 600 sustainability professionals in a business that has nearly 150,000 people. Most of them are accountants. So whilst I'm not an accountant myself, I certainly spend a lot of time around them. So can they change the world? As I thought this session was about, can I save the world? Accountants, if they're not on board, will be the biggest barrier we possibly have to get them to do this, because they're the ones who control the finance, they're the ones who control everything. They can also be fantastic allies, as we've seen in the tips. Once they're on board, they can really help make this. And most of my last 15 years has been spent trying to help business leaders, by and large who are accountants, find the business case for doing social and environmental good. My topic that I'm going to talk about is kind of based on a report that I helped write with our international team called New Vision Value. It basically actually picks up on something Anna was saying if you want to understand a business, you need to look at the accounts. And actually, that's one of the things I'm not sure I agree on. I know you used it as an example, but the problem is 40 years ago, 80% of the business's value was based on its accounts, its physical assets and its revenue in the future. Nowadays, 20% of the business's value is based on that. So something else must be contributing 80% of the listing value of a business. And most of us in this room will know what they are. They're called externalities. It's the things that a business does that affect the outside world, plus some of the other assets. And to me, that fundamentally says what the problem with the triple bottom line model is. So we have for 20 to 30 years since the Rio summits talked about how business needs to think about social, economic and environmental issues. But we end up in the problem that Tim was talking about, which is how do you compare a tree versus someone who's had their leg chopped off in an accident versus the amount of money it would cost to fix that? You can, but maybe reducing it to the lowest common denominator is a danger. But I think actually it's the only measure, because currency is that. It's a common currency. It's a metric that is supposed to allow us to compare the relative values of things. So our problem is not in using that currency. Our problem is in the conversion that we do from one thing to another. And a lot of the time I spend on this stuff is actually trying to agree the right conversion factors between various parties. So if you are going to go and cut pollution in Manchester by rolling out a huge number of new tram lines, how do you value that? And who benefits from that value? So New Vision Value starts to talk about that, and we do these, which I don't really like actually, but my accountant friends love them. So what it does is it takes the revenue of a business, deducts off the cost of running that business, and that gives us what we call profit or earnings. Accountants love that. And then we look on top of that, the amount of tax it pays back to society, because ultimately if the government's doing its job, that tax should be being used for public good. You can debate that if you want, but we'll save that for afterwards. And then you deduct off anything in terms of corruption that might happen from those tax. You could also say there's possibly something around tax evasion or tax efficient structures. And then what we do is we get into the social ones, and we can look at the social good a business does in terms of the value of education it provides to its workers, its volunteering in schools, and then we deduct off things like injuries to its workforce, lots of other things where they are born outside the business. And then we do the same for environment, so the business might recycle, it might plant some trees, but by and large, lots and lots of environmental externalities. And we end up with what we call the true earnings of the business. And using a set of academic studies, you can convert all these things to numbers by and large. Be that a rural broadband programme, the value of replacing city buses with electric fleets, the impact of a cement company. We've been doing this for a few years now, and it's fascinating what you can actually find conversion factors for. But it's a guide. It's a materiality assessment rather than really accurate numbers. But I don't like this for one reason only. It assumes a linear correlation between things like trees and injuries and the value that they've got. Whereas actually, if I cut down a tree in the Amazon, that's not that big a deal. It's one tree. If I go and cut down the last tree in a village in Africa that's providing food, shelter, and anti-desertification, that's a lot more valuable. So we need to bring context into each of this. And ultimately, this is P&L. This is net contribution to and from during a year, which is important. But what I'm more interested in is the balance sheet. So actually, how much assets does this have as a company? How much human capital are we creating and destroying as a whole? So we come to the integrated reporting programme. Again, I'm assuming most of you are familiar with this. This talks about the 6 capitals that in theory contribute towards that 100% way in which we value business. And in theory that 100% is incomplete anyway because not all the business's value takes account of its externalities. And I've just come from a comment for 18 months down to Bristol this year, which is the European Green Capital. And we had a really good time applying the 6 capitals to a city because it's a hell of a lot easier than applying it to a business, because a business is entirely reliant on the commons for almost all its externalities. The labour pool, the environment, the atmosphere, all of that belongs to all the businesses who are using it. Whereas a city, or a region, or a country, you can define a really good geographic boundary around it. I don't have time in my 50 minutes to talk about that much more. There's a really good paper around on this if you're interested. Part of the Bristol method. If you just Google that and look for measurements, there's something on sustainable cities. So I'm going to be slightly masochistic because I've been slightly challenging my fellows, so I'm going to actually now slightly contradict myself, but also talk about perhaps what I think is the hardest of the 6 capitals in a business or a city, and that's social capital. And this is probably where I will challenge Tim a little bit for the discussion afterwards, because for me, social and human capital are very, very different. Human capital is the stock of human assets, their health, their fitness, their longevity, their intelligence, their education. But social capital to me is all about the interconnections between society, business, and everybody else. And therefore, probably in our experience, the least measurable, the least established, but something we actually now starting to have to think about. And in South Africa, starting to have to measure. So accountants in South Africa right now under the King 3 Act have to report on the strength of their relationships with their key stakeholders. And to be honest, 99% of them are doing a really poor job. Because you can ask how much they like someone, but that doesn't tell you how good they are at effectively achieving their mutual goals. So we have started trying to do this. We've actually borrowed some IP from somebody who's been trying to do this for 20 years. And his joy in life, as for many accountants, is trying to measure the unmeasurable. So by bringing an accountant on board, we can actually start to try and challenge these systems. And we want to measure the effectiveness of relationships. Not how happy people are in that relationship. I don't have to be happy with my dentist. I just have to have healthy teeth. And he wants to make sure his practice continues. So what we've done is we have been working to commercialise some academic theory called the relational proximity framework. It's based on the concept that the more proximate, the closer and more effective our relationships are, the better it is. But recognising for different kinds of relationship, that effectiveness could manifest itself in different ways. I do not want to hear from my bank manager every day. The bank manager might talk to me every day, but that's only to my overdraft. The thing for me is, how do we find a way of measuring how well that relationship is working for both parties, from both sides? Because too often in measuring things like social capital, we measure it in one direction. And what we need to do is measure in both directions and not predefine what's important. So too often we say is more frequent communication is better. More knowledge of how someone's kids are getting on is better. Actually, for some relationships, that's not right. So the theory of relational proximity says we want to ask our stakeholders, on a scale of, so for example, 1 to 6, how effective is this relationship in meeting your needs? 1 being absolutely disastrous, and 6 being absolutely perfect for meeting my needs. And if we measure both sides of that, not only can we get an average of how effective that relationship is, but we can see the gap between those two relationships. Because if one side thinks it's really effective and the other doesn't, that's a big deal. We did this for an NGO and a major retailer who had a strategic partnership. It's worth millions of pounds to that NGO. And what we found is one side of that relationship was really happy, one side was really, really annoyed, and they had never talked about it because we never brought it out. So what we use are what we call measures of relational effectiveness or proximity. The directness is how well we communicate, the continuity is the story we have together, multiplexity is our multiplexity of knowledge, not just how many kids have you got, but actually what's your purpose in life, what are your skill sets, what challenges do you face? Because in many relationships that's what matters. But the parity is the sharing power, and the commonality is whether we have goals that are mutually compatible and that we actually understand those. You can get really detailed if you want. This is where the account starts to become very valuable because getting accurate data when you're surveying a couple of thousand suppliers is really, really tough. So this is data from an organisation that trains hundreds of thousands of people a year and what their training providers think of them. So there is a mutually beneficial relationship here, but what we found was there's actually really big differences. The reason this is so detailed is because actually within those 5 drivers of effectiveness, the studies have shown there are actually 20 sub-drivers of that. So directness, for example, is not just about our frequency of communication, but the medium through which we do it and how we actually talk to each other. Again, there's papers on this online if you search relational proximity, but we've got lots of detail. I can see my time's almost up. And what we see here is the differences between the parties. So you can have a good conversation on a quantitative, non-emotional level about how well that relationship is going. You can see even more detail if you want. And what we want to get to, my final slide, I promise, is what we are currently calling relational balance sheet. So if we're talking about value of capitals, what we want to be able to see is how well our relationships are going. And a random number doesn't really help in this case. It's one where I think converting it into the financial world isn't that useful. We can if you want. We can certainly have relative values of these. But what we care about is how well our relationship's going compared to last year. It's actually the same as carbon footprint for most organisations. We care about direction of travel. So what we can do, and we have started doing, is saying, from year on year, how have our relationships changed? How have they got more or less effective? And what can we start to do about that? Because using the drivers, we know exactly which bit of that relationship is making it ineffective. Stumbled on the last word, slightly embarrassing, but hopefully that was useful.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I don't know about you, but that was fascinating. Thank you. I have an enormous amount of questions, but we don't have much time, so I think what's more important is that you all ask questions. So I'm going to take them in a couple at a time, if that's all right. So 2 ladies at the front to start with.
Hi, I'm Helen Campbell from an organisation called Social Value UK. We've developed 7 principles which are kind of based around current accounting principles, but also incorporate aspects of cost-benefit analysis and sustainability reporting to try and measure a new type of social value. Given that the existing practices of accounting took a century to develop, we very much feel like it's the beginning, and I think the work that you've been doing is doing like a really kind of advancing this. But my question is basically about legislation. So what role do you think political drive and legislation has to play? I know in the Companies Act it says that the role of accountants is to provide a true and fair account of the value that the company is producing. So if we can argue about what true and fair means, true and fair to who, is it shareholders, is it the stakeholders, do you think that has the capacity to really change and maybe help accountants change the world in a more substantial way?
Great, brilliant question. Go.
Hi there, my name's Pam. I'm the accountant of my social enterprise, which is Samora. One of the issues I have is corporation tax and also just simple processes, handing in a tax return, having the accounts signed off. I always find it quite complicated. Also, I have a trust issue with accountants as well. I sometimes I don't know whether that's a communication thing or whether it's maybe problems, issues really in that relationship. So I could be referred to access a bit more. But I know that everyone's here now, it's probably a lot easier for them to have conversations, quite transparent ones with their accountants, whereas for me it's quite difficult. I rely on interpreters, but I think there needs to be more awareness of different organisations and accountants that one issue doesn't fit all, basically.
Great. Yeah, really important stuff. So we've got one more question. I wonder if you want to take the first one and start with around some of the structures, and then maybe we can think about different ways. I thought it was really interesting you raised the word trust. Maybe think about some of those trust questions about accountants, the skills they have, the power that they might have within organisations, and what that might mean.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of legislation, sometimes there is a real difference between the spirit and letter of legislation and regulation. So I would agree with you that a true and fair account of value has to include non-monetary value, but the way that the norms are developed around that and the way it's been implemented is just financial value. I can only give you an example from my experience, which was that I did a lot of work to build a shares product for customers of the building society that I worked at, and we knew that they would be investing with mixed motivations because they saw both environmental and financial value in investing in the society. When it came to the detail of the regulation, and by that point I got so interested in this stuff, I read the whole of the regulation that we'd worked on with them, even the appendices, and right on page 997 or whatever it was, it said that we would have to include a statement for, we had to include a statement on all the materials we did to promote this that would say, this may not be in your best interests. And I was livid about that, partly because they'd hidden it on page 997, but also because actually that interpretation of interest was financial and not wider interest. It's a very one-dimensional view, and that's so true, and fair value can be interpreted in that way too. And that's, to my mind, I definitely think within policies like the Cabinet Office, for example, have a really enlightened view of the role of businesses in society, but they're not the ones that are writing the financial regulation, and they don't supervise them, and government departments don't talk to each other. So I think there is a job for us to, in whatever role that we play, whether that's as an accountant, as someone running a social business, someone running any sort of business, to actually change the whole narrative that we have, because otherwise it doesn't really matter what's in the written bit. I did want to talk to the second one just very quickly. I really sympathise with the trust issues with accountants, and I had, I understand that obviously there will be issues, particularly when you're working with an interpreter, but also I had a very bad relationship with my first accountant, and we may have,
There's not normally, sorry to interrupt you there, there's not normally an issue with the interpreters. It's more of organisations, even accountants, being aware of accessing to deaf people.
Yeah.
And it's very until it's dealt with at a higher level, it means that deaf people are still going to fall behind other hearing organisations and social enterprises. So the only way me as a business can rise by using interpreters, and there needs to be more awareness from different stakeholders that access is key to progressing.
I agree with that completely. I think the issue, when you're actually just able to have that conversation, the issue with accountants is that quite often you'll be speaking a completely different language. And that's where the trust issue comes in as well. And I got to the point, and I found it quite ironic, because I was leading an organisation called the Finance Innovation Lab, and I couldn't understand anything my accountant was saying. And I started to think it was me, and to sort of doubt all this empowering stuff I say about finance. And then I changed accountants. And it was amazing, just amazing what...
Yeah, I wonder if Tim could come in on that as well.
Sort of stitching together trust, regulation, and a bit of a pop at Ben, because he had a bit of a pop at me. All's fair in love and panels. I think, first of all, on regulation, the Integrated Reporting Council are doing a lot of the right things. We're trying to put in place a framework that will enable non-financial narrative and metrics to be given some traction, but they're fighting a really tough battle because basically in the world of financial reporting, everything that isn't illegal is compulsory. Think about it for a minute. And the sheer volume of stuff that you have got to do gets in the way of communicating the message that you really ought to communicate, and that goes a bit to trust. And then on trust, this is the last thing you said, which was accountants speak a different language. And the end of your presentation, where you were talking about a very lovely, intelligent, far-reaching, groundbreaking, theoretical balance sheet of multiple complexity, and then playing that back to how we try to get to have a debate within our organisation on wider metrics. Actually, what sort of the danger where you might be going is in accountancy-fying the world. And in our world, where we're trying to change the behaviours of 50,000 bricklayers, cleaners, security guards, we have to de-accountancy our language and talk about apprenticeship numbers, not the value of knowledge capital. I started on my sustainability plan journey thinking I would have an all-singing, all-dancing, multi-capital, consolidated worldview. And I've ended up thinking, actually, I need to throw accountancy sort of right into the background and talk about specific non-financial things. And what I found as I've done that is my mandate within my business and the trust that my business invests in me has gone up immensely, because I'm now talking their language, not trying to force their actions into my language.
I'm going to, before letting you add anything if you want, I'm going to take a couple more questions because I want to get as many as possible. So, gentleman there, and then lady.
My name is Richard. I run a business called Interserve. Harvest social finance to buy and refurbish property employing people who have been in prison. So the currency is social finance. The assets we work with are valued by RICS and others, but the value of what we create could be interpreted in a number of different ways. So when an accountant wants a number to go on the balance sheet, he asks to survey. Is there a prospect of being able to get the goodwill, the social impact, of that will value in a similar way to the way it might be in existence?
Good question. And then
My question is about, I suppose, in a sense, the kind of skill that exists between what we're trying to do as good business and the needs of the shareholder, and one dimensional view of the accountant fulfilling the shareholder. So I think a driver is getting to grips with shareholders somehow. Because until you leverage them into the same space that you've got into, then we're always going to have this shifting dynamic of whether they hit a sweet spot. What's your view?
great. Well, since I missed you first time, you're going to go first time.
I mean, you basically got the strapline and new vision of value there. The other challenge is short-term shareholder returns, and I think for me that's one of the roles of legislation is actually trying to bring a more level playing field. But ultimately, that needs to be done at a global level. You've seen how long it's taken us to get global climate change agreements. So I'll probably steer a little bit clear of answering that one because I'm not sure where it needs to go. But I'll just pick up on your question though, because I think one of the most exciting things happening at the moment in this space is devolution. So the work we've been doing down in Bristol has been actually saying if you do something like insulate social housing, you can see a huge number of values being created there. You're improving the value of the asset stock, but you're training apprentices from the local unemployed. You're reducing fuel poverty, therefore actually making people more credit-worthy. You're also actually reducing the cost of the NHS because of pneumonia and various other poorly-rated problems. And you're improving quality of life and you've got cohesion because people are in better homes they want to stay in for longer. The challenge is that each one of those stocks of capital being created can be monetised, but a different stakeholder benefits from them. And what devolution is doing is starting to put the budget for all of those things within the control of a single entity, the elected mayor. So in Manchester, which is further along the devolution track, they now control actually huge amounts of the city budget, education budget, healthcare budget, welfare budget. So what you can do is by making one investment, cut costs across all of those. But it needs some resource to get it off the ground, and it needs a common conversion factor to do that. So there's huge amounts of excitement in that, the challenge is actually managing it.
Quick on the investor question. It's all about two-way dialogue, and therefore there's a lot of onus on businesses to talk this story and to convey why it's important and how it adds value. And it can be done. M&S, part of their corporate renewal, maybe 10 years ago now, was Plan A. And look what that did for their sort of rehabilitation of the brand. Only 2 weeks ago, I had an hour and a half conference call with our largest shareholder and our international construction team solely on the topic of workers' rights in Qatar, because they perceived the risk to our business of a reputational meltdown / loss of work / accidents and fines or whatever it might be. And from that, I've driven the wedge of, let me tell you all the other things that we do on our broader agenda into there. Admittedly, it was their CSR team, but at least it was their CSR team. And where there is a compelling sort of traditional business threat, then you can actually start having some conversations. And there are also, which we've introduced to our pension scheme, funds specifically that target sort of sustainable business model type business investments, not green hugging stuff, but future-proofed business investments, not oil and gas and extractives, but the alternative technology, etc., etc. And they are very able to demonstrate the improved financial performance. So again, it comes back to financial performance, but it's a start.
James, you had a question? Okay.
Can I just jump in on
Yeah.
that? I'll be quick. I completely agree with you. I was at an event last week where a report on banking was launched. I think it was Chair of Lloyds Bank says all this stuff about shareholders demanding short-term results is nonsense. Most of our shareholders have been with us a very long time. And I thought, well, if that's true, why are so many of these organisations in the FTSE 100 or whatever, why are they spending money buying back their own shares to prop up their share prices? Where's that pressure coming from? Sorry, but the behaviour doesn't match with what was being said. And I do think absolutely engagement and wider education is really important. I think I've already mentioned my general hesitation around putting financial value on everything. I'm all for tree hugging because I like trees and they help us breathe, and that's quite useful. So, I guess for me there are definitely different sorts of value. The other thing I think that comes into this is different business models. So actually, I think mutuals and more democratic structures and structures where people are coming together to support what the business is trying to do, not just make a big buck, is one way forward. That then brings the question of scale. How do these organisations scale without a public issue? I don't know the answer to that. That's why we work not just on trying to change the rules of the game, but bring through the innovators. We're trying to find the people who are developing those new forms of financing and help them grow what they do. Because ultimately we care about organisations, businesses that are doing good stuff, being able to do more of it.
Thank you. I wish we could carry on, but time is against us. So I think that's been a really interesting conversation. It hasn't answered the question, I don't think. But what it has done is, I think it's highlighted a number of ways in which accountants and the skills that accountants bring can support organisations that are trying to change the world. I think it's raised a number of questions about the system we have and which direction we might want to shove it. And I think it's raised some really interesting questions about some of the methods that are emerging that we could start to use. But with a number of contextual factors which have been touched on at different points, whether it's trust, whether it's regionalism, etc., etc. The thing that I'm always struck by, whether it's from an accounting perspective or from a very kind of early just talking through impact, that all of this is really a question of knowledge. That we often use a number because of the very reason that Ben described, but really it's a question of knowledge. And often when, as you said, Helen, you're developing something quite new, in terms of new standards and new approaches, you actually, rather than taking one step forward, you're actually taking one step back to try and understand everything, and then two steps forward. And it feels like we're in the middle of that one step back and two step forward at the moment, still trying to work out where we are. And there are some things that seem to be pushing ahead and really interesting, and others which seem to be problematic or taking us down dead ends. But I think this has been a really insightful discussion, and I'm wondering if you'll join me in thanking the panel.